All right, g'day and welcome. Oh, better get this out. Come on. Put all this away before my pa gets back from his fishing trip. Should be pretty good. So, here's what I'm going to show you. Got a chainsaw case this week. Got the muffler off of Buck there. Got some scrap here. I better clean this up before my pa gets back. Might get a little bit testy if I do. Leave it there, so. But, and then there were two. So here we go, guys. Here's my newest additions. So there's Snippy Shark. There's Nippy Shark. So I just got this one. Got a full tank of fuel in there. And this one almost empty. This one's older. This one I bought about 2 months ago. This one I have no idea how old it is. It's the same thing, the exact same thing, but you can see there's like discoloring on the fuel tank, so it must be a little bit older. This one, however, is lighter, even though it's the exact same, still FS 38. This one also runs smoother, but that one, because it's newer, starts better and it's more powerful. I think it's just because this one's more worn in. Slightly different handles. This one's really comfortable, this handle. I guess that's I don't know what this is. I think it's just like a vibration dampener. This one vibrates a lot more. And it's probably about an extra 2 inches longer, but otherwise they're the exact same machine. They're the baby of the big ones. If you got anything bigger, it'd be a little bit too heavy. This machine has been pretty much working between 3 and 6 hours every day since I bought it about a month and a half ago. And I don't know if these whippersnippers, what the duty cycle is on them. If you don't know what a duty cycle is, it's like the amount of time you run it for and the amount of time you have to let it kind of cool down. But this thing has just been going like crazy. That machine for $222 or whatever it was, Canadian, then plus the tax, it owes me nothing. Like, it owes me nothing, and I only, like, it pays for itself once every 2 days or so. This one, it was $60 in value, but I didn't pay for it in cash. What I did is I paid for it in labor, because the couple that had it, it's the same people I got the chainsaws from and stuff like that. And there's one more big chainsaw. And basically I owe them 30.5 hours of work at about $20 an hour. For the two chainsaws was about 550, and this was about $60. So the first day I showed up, I already own this now. This is mine. I've 3 hours work. Now, this paid for itself about twice yesterday. It's a pretty amazing little machine. It wasn't perfect when I got it. It had old gas in it, and it was a little gummed up. But it started, so I said, okay, I'll take it home and I'll play around with it. And the lady said, well, if it doesn't run right, bring it back, and then, we'll knock that time off, and, obviously don't take it if it's not good. But she was like, I'm surprised it's not running, because her husband, apparently, I haven't met him yet, but she says he keeps everything running really good. But it probably just hasn't run in a while, so... I dumped out, I took it, started it, it bogged, it was like, it was hard to start, it bogged, and I couldn't get the revs up. I was like, so as soon as I'd get, this one has a really smooth trigger on it too, but as soon as I'd get the revs up a bit, it'd bog and die. And so I didn't play around with it too much because I was kind of on the clock, right? So I tried it, the next day I tried it again at another place, maybe ran for, instead of 2 minutes, maybe about 3 or 4 minutes, and then it bogged and it died. And then yesterday, I said, I'll try it. And I tried, it's a little trick you can do with the two-stroke engines, or something that's really boggy. Instead of just trying to give it a lot of gas, what you do is you just kind of pulse the trigger. And so not enough to give it a shot and flood it, but just enough so it kind of like gets the fuel moving a bit. And it was like, and then away it went, and I ran it for about 6 hours, about 3 or 4 tanks of fuel through that one, 3 or 4 tanks of fuel through that one yesterday. Well, maybe about 3 each, because these things are pretty good on fuel. I think this one's a little bit better on fuel than this one, the newer one. Don't know why. Just maybe, the difference in the build or whatever. But yeah, this one runs really, really, really nice. It doesn't start as nice, but it runs really nice. But it seems to be a bit lighter. Now, the other differences is, if you can look at the head, I think this is the old style. I haven't actually, and it came with a full load of line on it. So I think this is just the old style where you take it apart and put it in. This is the one you put in your wine. So I think the head's a little bit heavier on this one. But they're, like I say, they're pretty much this exact same machine. I highly, if you are into yard work, who's this one going to be for? Well, let me see how I'm doing for time here. Oh yeah, good on time. Okay, who's this going to be for? Okay, for the guy who just does a yard. Let's say you have a yard like this, right? If you got thick stuff like that, or a lot of briars, it might be a good idea to have something a little bit powerful like this. If you're only going to be using it for an hour or so, no problem. If you have like really light stuff, like say like just like around the house or something like that, where there's no thick stuff, it's overkill. So like this, like I say, this is kind of like the baby of the big boys. But I've had good experience with them. I know I've only had one guy, and I mean these things, almost every second person I know has one of these. And I've only heard one guy say, oh, they don't last long, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know how he was running his. So now, mind you, I've only had this one for maybe 2 months tops. You know, we were in August. I think I bought it at the end of June. So a month and a half to, but it's worked a lot. Like the average person is probably not going to use a whippersnipper in their lifetime as much as this worked in the past month. Pretty much every day, right? Because that's my job, right? But this one, I don't know how old this one is. It's definitely way older than this. It might be 4 or 5 years old. I don't know. But it runs really, really nice. You know, and the idle and everything was good. Like, yeah. So that's the FS 38. If you put in the good zipper line, especially like this stuff here, it's like looks like a black Twizzler. Can't really catch it on the camera properly, but this stuff is great for massacring like raspberry briars and stuff like that. It does have its limitations. It's not a brush cutter. It's you know, but yeah, if you're going to get the ones with the curve, the next one up is the straight one, which is even better in a lot of ways, but you're going to pay a lot more for it. So but if you can find one of these used, like I say, this thing's paid for twice in one day. So yeah, I highly recommend the SthiI FS 38 so far. We'll see what I'm like at the end of the season. Maybe I'll say, no, don't buy them, just walk away from them, they're no good, blah blah blah. But so far they've been serving me very well, and this one, you know, is I've owned it for Wednesday or Sunday. So, you know, I've had it for about 5 days, and I've used it for 3, and really got good use out of it yesterday. So, yeah. Complaints. Okay. Vibration is a whippersnipper thing. So, you know, like nothing is perfect, right? Am I doing for time? My only real complaints is if I have to nitpick it, I don't know about this one yet because I haven't changed the line on it yet. But we'll start with the line. This system is great because it just feeds right through. And if you don't, you know, I'll show another video on how to do it because running long. But when you do lose a piece off, you have to take the whole thing apart, which is easy to do, but it's kind of a bit of a pain putting it back together. You know, it's faster if everything goes according to plan, which it mostly does. But when it tears off the line so that it's inside and you can't get it out anymore, then you have to take it apart. And that's about my only complaint there. Other than that, I love that system. Yeah. And then the last one is this. Not so much the switch, but this right here. It doesn't do it so much on this one. It's the exact same mold. I don't know why, but whenever I'm wearing my harness and I start getting into the swinging motion, for some reason, now mind you, it's not the proper harness for this. It's a different type of harness, but it shouldn't matter. It does that. Like it kills it sometimes, so you have to restart it every now and then when you're wearing the harness. You know, and the harness just helps you a little bit with the weight load. But yeah, that's the only real complaint. Is it's not a don't buy it because of that, but it's a pain in the butt to have to, you know, when you just get going, it's like hit the switch 3 times in a row or something like that. So that's the one thing I found with the harness is that when you get swinging, it sometimes shuts it off on you. Or even sometimes when you're just swinging like that and your thumb brushes it, you know, you can't blame that, but it's just the ergonomics will make your thumb sometimes brush up against the kill switch, and you're like, what's wrong with my machine? And you just hit the kill switch. That's about the only real complaints I have about it so far. if you can call that a complaint. So anyway, there we go. That's the SthiI FS 38s. I'll do more videos on them a little later, but so far very happy with them. I'm glad to have two, because what I do, if you don't know what a duty cycle is, again, it's basically every machine has a duty cycle where it can run for so long that you gotta let it cool down. Where this thing, I just been going tank after tank after tank after tank until the day was done. Now what I do is I do a tank. When that tank runs low, I fill that one up. I go to this one, I run this one till it's done. And then I put it aside, and then I grab that one and I go with that one, fill this one up, let it cool. So that way you're, you know, I should hopefully get a longer time out of it. But if you're not doing a commercial like me, then, you know, just get one. But bang for the buck, really good machine. There you go.